Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something, well, pretty universal, I think. Something we all face almost daily. That sting of an insult,
Mm.
or maybe harsh criticism, a cutting remark, it hits you, and there's that heat in your chest, or maybe just this slow burn of resentment later.
Yeah, those moments. They seem small, maybe,
Yeah.
but they're actually huge.
Yeah.
Philosophically speaking, they're battlegrounds for our inner peace.
Right.
And that's our focus today.
Yeah.
This deep dive is all about mastering those moments.
Mm-hmm.
We're leaning heavily on the Roman Stoics here,
Okay.
especially Epictetus, a man who knew hardship, being enslaved for years, but also pulling from Seneca, Marcus Aurelius. They give us more than just theory. They offer a really practical, kind of repeatable script for dealing with these external attacks.
A script. I like that. So our mission here is basically to help you reframe your whole relationship with what other people say or think.
Exactly. We want to show you the blueprint, the Stoic blueprint that makes it so another person's words, their opinions, they just can't fundamentally harm your character or your inner calm.
It's about shifting the fight, right? Away from the external noise
Hmm.
and bringing it internal to your own mind, your own judgment. That's the citadel, as they say.
That's the only place you truly have control. And before we even get to the how-to, we have to lay the foundation. It's absolutely critical in Stoicism.
The bedrock principle.
Yes, the dichotomy of control. Epictetus is really strict on this. You have to draw a sharp line between what is truly ours and what is not ours.
We tend to blur that line constantly, don't we? Trying to manage things way outside our actual power, like other people's feelings or even outcomes we just hope for.
And that blurring, that confusion, that's the root of so much frustration, so much anxiety. So what's definitively ours? It's actually a surprisingly small list.
Okay, what is it?
It's our opinions, the judgments we form, our desires, what we reach for, our aversion, what we push away, and crucially, our volition, our conscious will, the choices we make.
So basically, our inner world, our thoughts, our intentions, our reasoning.
Precisely. That's the sphere of your character. And that's the only place you have absolute untouchable control. The moment you focus your energy there, that's when you start finding real tranquility.
Okay, if that's the small circle of ours, what's in the huge space of not ours?
Yeah.
The stuff we stress about but can't actually control.
Oh, it's a long list.
Yeah.
And honestly, it can be tough to really accept. Your body, it gets sick, it ages.
Yep.
Your possessions, they break, they get lost. Your health overall, external events, circumstances.
Yeah.
And key for today, your reputation. What other people say about you, think about you, believe about you. That's firmly in the not ours category.
You just can't force someone else's thoughts or words.
You can't. Trying to is like trying to command the wind. It's futile, and it leads straight to disappointment.
It's a stark truth, but you need it to even start using these tools, right?
Absolutely. It's the prerequisite. Because here's the core insight. If you decide your happiness, your self-worth, your stability depends on those externals, like having everyone like you, or maintaining this perfect image.
Which many of us do.
We do.
Uh-uh.
But if you do that, you've essentially done something disastrous. You've handed over the keys to your own happiness to something or someone else. You've outsourced your inner security.
And since those external things are chaotic,
Right. They're unpredictable. So frustration isn't just possible, it's baked in, it's guaranteed. Every time someone throws shade or misunderstands you, you suffer because you're trying to control their judgment, their words, which you simply don't own.
okay, so accepting that their words are not ours, that's step 0, foundational. Now, let's get tactical. The 3-step script Epictetus lays out for taking apart an insult as it happens, this is where it gets really actionable.
Yeah, this is brilliant. Epictetus dissects the whole insult process. He shows us exactly where the weak point is, where we can intervene, and the goal is always to hit it hard at step 2.
All right, step 1 seems straightforward. It's just the offense spoken, the external event. The words come out, the email arrives, whatever it is.
And this step, completely outside your control, 100%. The other person decides to speak or write those words. The Stoic just accepts that. People will talk, people will criticize, sometimes unfairly.
You can't stop the sound waves.
You can't. They're just external stimuli, sound waves hitting your eardrum,
Fizzle out, right? It wouldn't land.
Yeah, exactly. It would fall flat. A word is just a word. But the whole mechanism of injury, the whole reason it hurts, relies on us moving to step 2.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Step 2, internalizing the words. This is about the judgment we attach to those words.
Yes, and this step is entirely unequivocally yours. This is where your power lies. is the moment you take that external input, the words, and you analyze it, and you decide whether or not to assent to the impression that these words are actually offensive or harmful to you.
That word assent and judgment, they sound a bit academic. Can you break down what Epictetus really means? Like, what's happening differently inside the head of a wise person versus, say, the ordinary mind when those words hit?
Good question. So an impression, the Greek word is phantasia, hits your mind. Let's say someone calls you incompetent. Boom, there's the impression.
Okay.
Now, the ordinary mind, as Epictetus sometimes calls it, often acts like a pushover. It immediately accepts the impression as reality. It jumps straight from, those sound waves happened, step one, to, oh my God, I am competent, and those words just wounded me. Step two, completed instantly, automatically.
Right, that instant gut reaction.
That automatic acceptance, that assent without questioning, that's the moment of failure. That's where the harm occurs.
So what does the wise person do differently in that instant?
The wise person interrupts the process. The sound waves hit, and internally, they pause. They say, hold on, this is just an impression. Let me examine it. Is this statement true? Does this external noise actually reflect my inner character, or is it just noise from someone else? They withhold assent. They refuse to sign off on the initial negative feeling.
That pause, it's everything.
It is everything. Epictetus hammers this home. The injury isn't in the words themselves. It's never in the external event. It's in your judgment about the words. If you don't judge them as harmful, they literally cannot harm you.
Wow. Okay, so the power is entirely in that split second, refusing to let the insult just bypass your rational mind and go straight for the emotions.
Right.
You're basically saying, hold up, let me verify this claim before I buy into it.
Precisely. You shift the whole battleground inward, because if you do grant that assent, if you sign off on, yes, this is harmful, then you immediately slide into step three.
Which is the reaction.
The reaction. Yeah. And that's the payoff the insulter is actually looking for.
Right.
Think about it psychologically. Why does someone insult you? Often is to get a rise out of you. They want to see your anger, your distress, your defensiveness, the moment you react emotionally.
You've basically told them, yep, you got me. Your words have power over me.
Exactly. You validate their attempt. But if you don't react, if you withhold assent in step two, the insult just hangs there. It falls flat. They threw the punch, but it didn't land because you didn't internalize it as a blow.
And the emotion that follows, the anger, the hurt, that feeling itself proves to us that the words were powerful, right? It becomes the self-fulfilling loop. But the damage was actually self-inflicted back in step two by our own judgment.
Perfectly put. It's entirely self-inflicted because it stems from your assent. And Epictetus urges us to look closely at that resulting emotion, say anger. If you feel anger, where did it come from? It came from your internal decision, your judgment that you were wronged or diminished. So understanding that causal chain external event, your judgment, your emotion, your reaction understanding that shows you that the emotion itself is something you can actually control. Or, ideally, avoid altogether in the future by managing your judgments better. You are fundamentally responsible for your emotional state because you're responsible for your judgments.
That's empowering. Okay, so if the battle hinges on step two, on that judgment, how do we practically apply this? Because criticism comes in different flavors, right? Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's just mean.
Right. The Stoics give us distinct approaches. Let's start with the easier one, conceptually at least, handling constructive criticism.
Okay.
The Stoic approach here is purely, practical, utilitarian. If someone offers criticism that might actually be true, something that points out a real flaw in your character, a mistake you made, a weakness in how you act.
Even if they deliver it badly.
Even if the delivery is clumsy or rude or even seem like they're enjoying pointing it out.
That's the hard part, filtering out the delivery?
It is. But the Stoic focuses relentlessly on the potential for self-improvement. If the content has value, you mine it. Rational response, Epictetus would say, is gratitude. Thank you for alerting me to this area where I might need work.
So if someone says, your presentations are rambling, and you kind of know they are.
Instead of getting defensive about their tone, how dare you say that? You think, okay, is there truth here? Maybe I do need to work on clarity. You extract the useful bit of information, discard the nasty emotional packaging, and focus on improving your own character. Don't let their lack of skill or kindness prevent you from getting better.
That requires a lot of humility and focus on growth over ego.
Immense humility. It's all about prioritizing your own virtue.
Okay, that makes sense for potentially true criticism. But what about the stuff that's just Wrong. Malicious lies, unfounded attacks, things that are demonstrably false. This is probably the bulk of what feels like an insult.
hmm And for this, Epictetus gives us this absolutely brilliant, almost funny analogy. It's incredibly powerful for self-defense.
Okay, I'm ready.
It's the syllogism analogy. First, remember what a syllogism is. It's that basic form of deductive reasoning.
Like, all humans are mortal. Socrates is human, therefore Socrates is mortal.
Exactly. Major premise, minor premise, conclusion. The logical structure itself is sound, right? It works whether you use it correctly or incorrectly.
Okay.
Now imagine someone messes up the syllogism. They make a reasoning error. Like your example earlier, all birds can fly. Penguins are birds, therefore penguins can fly. The conclusion is false. The reasoning is flawed.
Right, the person made a mistake.
Does the syllogism itself suffer? Does the concept of logic feel bad?
No, of course not. The person who made the mistake just looks, well, wrong. Foolish, maybe.
Precisely. The logical structure, the truth of things, isn't harmed by someone's error in applying it. Now, Epictetus applies this directly to insults about your character.
Okay, I see where this is going.
When someone insults you with an untruth, they call you dishonest, cowardly, stupid, whatever, and, deep down in your internal citadel, that it's false.
Then they're the ones making the reasoning error.
Exactly. They're committing a logical error about reality. They're presenting a false conclusion, you are bad, based on faulty data or malicious intent. Their syllogism about you is flawed.
So if they say, you're incompetent because you missed that deadline, therefore you're worthless, but you know the deadline miss was due to external factors and doesn't reflect your overall competence or worth.
Then their premise, you are incompetent, or their inference, therefore you are worthless, is wrong. The flaw lies entirely in their misjudgment. Their statement reveals a deficiency in them, a failure of perception or logic, or maybe even justice if they're being malicious.
So the insult doesn't actually touch my true character.
Not one bit. It's
Yeah.
no detriment to your inner self if someone speaks an untruth about you.
Yeah.
They're the ones suffering the consequences of holding a false belief, of misjudging reality, potentially of acting unjustly. You can mentally step back and just observe their logical failure without letting it penetrate your own self-assessment.
The joke is on them.
In a very real sense, yes. They look foolish for getting reality wrong. It's a powerful way to neutralize the sting, recognizing the error lies with the speaker, not the target.
That's a fantastic intellectual shield. Okay, so we have the logical defense. But what about the emotional response? That rush of anger that often stops us from even thinking logically. This brings us to Seneca, right?
Yes, Seneca is the go-to Stoic for understanding and managing anger. He had zero tolerance for it. He saw anger not just as unhelpful, but as a profound disease of the soul, a kind of temporary madness.
Strong words.
Very. Remember, Seneca was involved in Roman politics, dealing with emperors like Nero. He saw firsthand the destructive power of uncontrolled rage.
He saw it ruin lives and empires.
Absolutely. He describes anger as this poison. Once you let it in, it throws your whole system out of whack. It completely compromises your mind, washes reason away. When you're angry, you are no longer guided by your rational faculty. The only part Epictetus says is truly yours. You've basically handed the steering wheel over to this volatile, irrational force.
But don't we sometimes feel like anger gives us energy? Like we need it to fight back or stand up for ourselves?
That's a common feeling. But Seneca argues it's completely wrong. He insists anger is totally unnecessary for achieving justice or responding effectively. If something wrong needs correcting, your calm, rational mind is far better equipped to handle it.
How so?
You can act firmly. You can act out of loyalty or a sense of duty or a commitment to justice. These motives are focused, clear-headed, and effective.
Where's anger?
Anger is messy. It's indiscriminate. It's blinding. Seneca basically says, why rage for revenge when you can simply act calmly out of duty? Courage and justice are far superior guides. They're stable and reliable. Anger is fleeting and often leads you to overshoot, to do things you regret, things that actually harm your own character.
Seneca even talks about the physical toll, doesn't he? It's not just mental.
Oh, absolutely. He gives vivid descriptions, the flushed face, the tense muscles, the racing heart, the shortness of breath. He points out that once these physical reactions kick in, your body is already kind of running away from your rational control. You're in the grip of a biological cascade. You've literally sacrificed your physiological and mental command center.
And once that happens, you just have to ride it out. You're operating below your best self.
Exactly. And you risk, as Seneca feared, that reason gets tangled up with the anger and might not fully recover its command. For a Stoic, letting that happen is a fundamental betrayal of your core rationality that God within Epictetus talks about. The goal is always to keep the fortress of reason secure, and anger is like setting fire to the gates.
Okay, so avoid the madness of anger. Let's look at another approach from Marcus Aurelius. It seems less about avoiding the reaction and more about neutralizing the initial event itself through analysis.
Yes, Marcus offers this technique of almost clinical detachment. He advises restricting the difficulty, the pain, strictly to the event itself, focusing only on the present reality, but stripping it of all the emotional labels and value judgments we automatically slap onto it.
Like a scientist looking at data.
Precisely. Imagine you get that nasty email. The immediate internal story is, this is terrible, they're attacking me, my reputation is ruined, this feels awful.
Yeah, that's spiral.
Marcus would say, stop, pause, intentionally remove those layers of judgment. Ask yourself, what is this thing objectively?
So look at the email and say,
what is this? It's electronic signals, rendered as text symbols on a screen. If someone shouts an insult, what is that? Sound waves moving through air at a certain frequency. He encourages breaking the event down into its raw components, like stripping paint off furniture to see the bare wood underneath. Remove the emotional gloss.
that sounds incredibly hard to do when you're feeling attacked. We're wired to assign meaning instantly.
It takes serious practice, no doubt. But it's powerful because it directly undermines step 2, the assent. If you can genuinely see the insult as just sound waves or just text, stripped of the negative value you've assigned it, you realize it has no inherent power over you. Any power it has is power. You lend it through your judgment.
He applied this to physical pain too, didn't he?
He did. He suggested looking closely at pain. It's not usually one monolithic, unbearable thing. It's often composed of different sensations, heat here, pressure there, a tingling. By analyzing and isolating the raw sensory input from the big, scary judgment, this pain is terrible, you lessen its psychological grip. The same logic applies to insults. Isolate the raw input, the words, from the negative value judgment you overlay onto it. This is harmful, offensive.
It's another way to force that crucial pause, letting reason get a foothold before the emotional floodgates open. Okay, we've covered some really solid defensive tactics, but the deeper Stoic game isn't just about blocking punches, is it? It's about building a self that's basically impervious because its value comes from within.
Exactly, that's the long game. The ultimate Stoic solution is grounding your self-worth entirely in virtue and excellence of character. If you do that, if you know who you are and what you stand for, your good volition, as Epictetus calls it, then external opinions, good or bad, just become irrelevant noise. They don't define you.
And this inner virtue, the strong character, it's not just about you, right? Epictetus connects it directly to how we treat others.
Absolutely. This is crucial. Stoic self-cultivation isn't purely selfish or isolated. It's inherently social. Integrity, for a Stoic, means uncompromising integrity, respect, cooperation, justice, and kindliness with respect to every human being one encounters.
So the focus on improving yourself inevitably leads to treating others better. The gap between egoism and altruism kind of closes.
It has to. Because a truly good self, a virtuous self, requires respect and justice towards others by definition. You can't be truly virtuous while being cruel or unfair. Your internal work directly shapes your external actions. If you cultivate honesty inside, you must act honestly outside. The character you control defines how you engage with the world.
Epictetus uses a great analogy for this unassailable inner self, drawing on Socrates,
Yeah.
the Silenus statues.
Ah, yes, the Silenus analogy. It's such a vivid image. So Socrates, who wasn't conventionally attractive, was often compared to these little statues of Silenus you could find in shops.
And Silenus was usually depicted as, what, kind of ugly or comical?
Often, yes. Externally maybe grotesque, rough-looking, a bit of a buffoon.
Okay.
But these statues were hollow. And when you open them up, inside they contain these exquisite little figurines of the gods, beautifully crafted, maybe in silver or gold.
Ah, so the external appearance is just a shell.
Exactly. The opinions others have about your looks, your status, your job, your circumstances, all the stuff that's not ours. That's just the rough, ugly Silenus mask. People can mock the mask, insult it, dismiss it.
But inside.
Inside is your true self, your virtue, your reason, your character. That's the hidden divinity. And it's untouched, unassailable by what people say about the external mask.
That inner core is the only thing that really lasts, isn't it?
It's the only thing Epictetus says adheres and follows through life. Reputation fades, wealth disappears, status changes. But your integrity, your judgment, your wisdom that goes with you. So if someone insults the mask, you internally know they're missing the entire point. The real treasure is safe inside.
And Epictetus takes this inner self, this rational core, and gives it the highest possible status. He calls it the God within.
He does. It's a really powerful, motivating image. He says you are literally carrying this God within, this spark of divine reason, the logos, that connects you to the rational order of the universe. And you have a sacred duty, a commission from the divine, to keep this inner person, this true self.
What are the words he uses?
Reverent, trustworthy, upright, undismayed, unimpassioned, undisturbed. You're tasked with protecting that integrity.
That completely reframes handling insults, doesn't it? It's not just about feeling better. It's about upholding a sacred trust.
It makes it a moral imperative. And the critical point is external words, external actions, they cannot defile this inner core. They can't touch the God within.
Only you can.
Only you can. Through unclean thoughts and foul actions, by choosing to assent to false impressions, by letting rage take over reason, by acting unjustly. The insult itself is just external noise. It's a temptation to betray your inner duty by making a poor judgment.
So the moment of facing criticism isn't really about external danger at all.
No. It's purely a moment of internal moral choice. Will you protect the integrity of your reason, or will you let external noise corrupt it?
So what does this all mean when it comes down to it?
It means you have absolute power in that moment. The moment an insult or criticism hits, you and only you decide if it has any effect. It can only harm you if you use your own inner power, your judgment to agree with its negative message. Your value is inherent, it's internal, and you hold the key.
Okay, let's try to boil down the key takeaways then, when that negativity comes your way.
Remember the 3 steps. External event, not yours. Internal judgment, yours. Reaction, result of judgment. Your leverage is entirely at step 2, the judgment.
And use that syllogism test. Is the criticism actually true? If yes, learn from it. If no.
If it's false or malicious, the error is theirs. Their reasoning is flawed. Their judgment of reality is off. Recognize their mistake. Don't adopt it as your own. The joke's on them.
And resist the temporary madness of anger that Seneca warned about.
Yes. Act from duty, justice, reason. That's real strength. Protect that God within, that rational core. It's impervious to external opinion if you choose to keep it so.
Okay. We always like to end with something for you, the listener, to chew on, a final provocative thought. Think about a specific time recently when someone's harsh words really threw you off track. Maybe derailed your mood, your focus for a while.
Got one.
Now that you understand this 3-step process, and especially that syllogism idea, go back to that moment. Pinpoint step 2. What specific action, or maybe inaction, happened in your mind right then? What judgment did you make or fail to make that allowed those words to derail you? Was it instant agreement? Was it focusing on the unfairness instead of the potential truth or the speaker's error?
And then take it a step further. Consider Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who valued his conduct over his status. How might choosing indifference to reputation, really letting go of defending your external image against mere words, allow you to live more freely? More like that private citizen focused on inner principle, not on the external trappings of status that people might attack.
What happens when you stop needing external validation or fearing external criticism?
When the only opinion that truly matters is that of the rational self you're commissioned to protect. The moment you stop defending the mask, you're free to cultivate what's inside.
Something to think about. Until next time.